describe the architecture of your group. You know, how are you staffed?
Okay. And I thought we were all standing up when we were talking. Now I feel like...
No, I think you're doing great.
Yeah. Well, we did get the yellow shoe memo, right? Okay.
Who's on your team?
Okay. So
there's you.
There's me. Help me, Dan.
Sue.
Yeah. All right. I was talking about this. It's like going through menopause. It's so interesting. It's like I'll be teaching jazzercise and I go, what was this routine supposed to look like? I can't remember. All right. Top that, Dan O'Connor. All right, so my business partner, Susan Murphy, and we've both been in the business for 25 years, and we became partners at the end of 2005. We did business together since 2000, and I actually had 4 shoulder surgeries and was like on pain medication and probably shouldn't have been doing real estate, so she came and helped me. I mean, honestly, that's really what happened, and after a while, I thought, I don't really want to do this by myself. So we're 100% partners. We split everything. It doesn't matter where the business comes from, you know. So that's, you know, it's like how I believe a marriage should be. I mean, it's, you know, completely equal. Then we have 2 admin people. We have a listing and marketing manager. That person's job, and thanks to the staging people, we stage and declutter and make our homes look as fabulous as possible. We believe we're ethically responsible for that because a seller will get more money if the home looks good. So that listing manager is in charge of all of the work on the home, getting it all together, getting all the marketing and all the paperwork. And then we have a full-time transaction coordinator. Last year we did 65 transactions. Our goal this year is to do 100. Just putting that out there in the universe. Then we also have, 2 part-time buyer's agents. Those are folks that are extremely experienced and focus completely on knowing the inventory on the properties. They do hold the open houses most of the time. We hold them sometimes. And we have 1 full-time buyer's agent. And
how many open houses do you hold a month?
Probably 6 to 8 to 10. I mean, honestly, we believe that that's probably one of the best places.
No, you personally.
Me?
Yeah.
As little as possible.
You've earned it.
Yeah, yeah. Honestly, I mean, like you were talking, Rob, about showing up at, you know, coming in later, whatever the changes. I actually am really good at open houses. I like them. I just don't like the thought about doing them. Like it's kind of like working out, right? Once you get there, it's good, but I figure that I'm working now 40 hours a week. I'm coming in, being responsible, you know, because some of us got into this business thinking that it was a great job, that we could make our own schedules. How's that working for you? Right? So it's really cool to have a job like where you go in and you show up at 8 o'clock and then you go home at 6. Because I actually believe that real estate is not emergency room surgery. So I don't think I need to be calling people at 11 o'clock at night. You know, if I'm going to be showing up, I can do that. So try not to work that many weekends.
Darren, what is the structure of your group?
Much less complicated and not as many people involved. I've only been in business, you know, a lot less time than Rob and Marie have. So I started out doing all my own work, like most of us do, and then I started taking on a transaction coordinator. She worked from San Diego, and a lot of people in my office actually use her. It's ironic that she's so far away, but she's very efficient. And I used her for a while, and then I started seeing how much money I was putting into spending for a transaction coordinator, and decided that that would probably be better spent with an assistant. So right now, it's just myself, my assistant. My 2 thoughts are that if you're new in the business, I wouldn't get a transaction coordinator right away. I would learn your paperwork. And secondly, I wouldn't jump too quickly to get an assistant either. I would make sure that you really have things for them to do, because I can't imagine what it's like. You must spend a large part of your time corralling 6 or 7 extra people around the office, and just having an assistant and keeping them on track as well can be a distraction. So Definitely a benefit, but wouldn't do it too early.
How many open houses are you holding a month?
Although I haven't been in it for as long, I've sort of found that what my strengths and what my weaknesses are. I think I'm good at open houses, but I really loathe doing them. And I've tried as much as I can. I mean, in the very beginning, it's challenging to do business by design, but I try to keep my weekends free just to show property if I can. Typically, I will do the very first open house on a listing because I think it shows the seller that you're there working, but I usually will tell them on a listing presentation that I'm not the type of agent that does a lot of open houses. I know there's some very successful agents probably in this room, and in the South Bay that was their entire business plan. For 30 years they did open houses and they still do them, and it brings a lot of business. So I don't diminish that, it just doesn't seem to work as well for me.
My team's changed a lot over the years, and I keep toying with the idea of trying to make a team as big as Marie's is. And I keep falling back to keeping it simple. I have one assistant, had a buyer's agents, had various buyer's agents over time when I had a lot of need for that. And particularly, you know, when you design your business and decide what you're going to do, where you're going to work, what you're going to do. When I started out many years ago, I did everything everywhere, worked basically the entire state of California, and then started figuring that if I wanted, I was going to get what I concentrated on. So if I decided I was going to concentrate on townhomes in Redondo Beach, I was going to get townhomes in Redondo Beach. If I decided I was going to work on multi-million-dollar houses in Manhattan, Hermosa, Redondo, then that's what I would get. So I focused my business over the years. But in doing that, I mean, everybody says, yeah, I want to do 100 transactions a year. Marie, I want to do one transaction a year. One $100 million transaction every year. That's all I need. And you know, even though I exaggerate to make the point, that is the point. I want to do fewer transactions. I'm a quality, not a quantity guy. That's what I decided for my business, which allowed me to simplify where I don't really need a bunch of people on the team per se, as I figured out. But in doing that, I come across a lot of leads and deals and things that I have in other areas that I've said, I can't do that. I want to work that, but I can't because it's going to distract from what I really want to do. And what I did over the years was refer that business, as opposed to, because you will never make as much money per hour as you will referring business.
Rob, do you remember you referred me business?
I believe that I did. You were my first team member. So, anyway, so I'm with Darren in the sense that I don't want to have people looking around for things to do. And if you know how to hire talent, which I'm a pretty good judge of talent, I can hire it. But there's a fine line between hiring talent and training your competition, which is the thing that I joke about it, but you got to be careful about it. Marie's found a way to incorporate and create a business and a team, and I would, if you're going to have teams, make sure that you create ownership in that team such that nobody has a reason to splinter off and do their own thing. I've seen some pretty amazing people, team members, that you look at them and go, there's no way they're going to be able to keep them. And for the time they did a great job, but then they have to hire somebody and train somebody else. So be careful what you wish for. I disagree with Darren dramatically. On the first assistant, get one. Let them be your transaction coordinator. They're not just running your escrows. Have them do all the things that you need other than the 20% that's going to bring you back the most good. You find yourself running an escrow and you calculate what you want to make per hour, per month, per year, just break it down. This is what I want to make per year, then that becomes this much per month, this much per day, this much per hour. And you find yourself filling out paperwork for your escrow and start clocking the minutes and realize that you cannot afford yourself. So if you're paying somebody $10 to $20 an hour to do that work for you, that better be a time savings, or you better find some other business to be in besides real estate. But I want to note something that somebody, it was Rick DeLuca, I think, that said something to me, and it stuck with me more than anything else. And there's one thing that you remember in doing your real estate businesses, it's this: if you want to make more money, be worth it. It's the simplest thing, and yet, you know, just if you let that ring in your head as a mantra, you will do all those things that are necessary. You'll make the extra phone call. You'll talk real estate, you know, when you think that maybe it's not the right thing to do in the setting you're in. You'll find a way to integrate it. But I think that it's important that you decide what you want. Don't just build a team for the sake of building a team. And Marie's found a partner, and I think partnering is a great idea. I do want to talk to you at some point about how you compensate the balance of your team, because I've talked to a lot of people that have teams about it. That's the most difficult thing. If I decide how much I want to make per year, I can know that if I hire an assistant and I pay her whatever, in 1985 I had an assistant that was making more money than 80% of the office was, because that was the split I had her on. And yet that meant that I was making that much more. But if I took her out of the equation, was I making more or less with her? So if you can have an assistant that you're paying, it doesn't matter what, if you pay her 100 grand a year, and your income goes up 200 grand a year, you just made money, and your life became simpler.
Rob, I will take a listing anywhere within California if you give it to me. But because of that, we're a family-owned and operated company, and there's 6 of us that are family. We have other agents in the office that are not related to us, but the 6 of us work as somewhat of a team. My husband and I are definitely our own team, but we do handle some business within the 6 of us. My sister-in-law, Alana, who is licensed, is also our transaction coordinator. She does our disclosures, she does our paperwork, she'll meet clients, sign them in, so she'll do a lot of that for us. One of my brother-in-law's focuses solely on REOs, so we all kind of have a niche. And because I will take listings in Costa Mesa, I will take listings, and I'm closing one in Upland this week, one in Arcadia this week, one in Altadena. So I take them all over. I knew I needed to bring somebody on. After the birth of my first son, who did not sleep for a year, I was just absolutely exhausted, and he's almost 6. So right around that time, I knew I'm gonna wear myself out, and I used to love my job, and I'm starting to dread it. So at that time, we have another company that my husband owns, and he knew that could run itself, and that he could get his license and actually come on and work with me. And even though I worked for my father-in-law, I was the first one in the family to come work for him before all his own sons and other daughter-in-laws. So everybody else kind of came on with the boom of the business. And now that things are kind of increasing again, you know, it really helps to have a TC, somebody that runs your paperwork that you don't want to have to deal with, that can get copied in on everything. You don't have to forward out prelims. You don't have to deal with a lot of the REOs, all email. So it really does help. And I think that's about it. But on the line of open houses, I also don't love to sit them. We had the senior complex on Sepulveda, the bright orange building, 42 units, that we sat for 1.5 years. So after sitting there day in and day out, you start to dread it. My husband, thank goodness, loves it. He's a people person. I always say we're good cop, bad cop. You can figure out who the bad cop is. And he's very people oriented. And that was seniors. And senior women love my husband. Love him. I say he could have a sugar mama any day of the week. So it really, you got to work with what your pluses are. Definitely that's his strength. My strength is definitely on the negotiation side. So we help each other out. And because of that, as a team, as all 6 of us, as a family, we know my father-in-law is going to throw every short sale my way. He's not going to touch it. He doesn't want to do it. When you have a team, you can definitely work efficiently when you know each other's strengths and weaknesses. And then you can definitely become more effective in your day-to-day tasks and your efficiency.